I know what you're thinking. Woo! This lady is so excited about women in product, she is going to give birth to another one right now on this stage. But let me tell you, I still have 2 months to go. Wish me luck. Can you believe it? Isn't this thing awesome? I have never been so excited to be waiting in a bathroom line in my whole life as at a Women in Product conference. I'm Ami. I started my career about 15 years ago as a PM at Microsoft. I'm currently a VP product at Facebook. In between, I've run mobile marketing at Facebook, I've built ads at Instagram, I ran a small VC fund, and I just wanted to share some of what I've learned about career growth through that time. Because a lot of it surprised me, and I kind of wish someone had given me some of these tips earlier. So, yes. I got 5 tips, we've got about 10 minutes, and it covers about 15 years of experience. So yeah, if you do the math, I appear to learn things at the rate of 1 per 3 years. But on the upside, you get a tip every 2 minutes. So let's do it. Here's my 5 tips. The best way to get a job is to do a job. Build your career the way you build your product. Ask for help. Career success follows personal satisfaction. And keep showing up. Let's just dive in. The best way to get a job is to do the job. I started at Facebook back in 2007 as a temp in PR. I had quit my job at Microsoft. I knew I wanted to work at Facebook, but they weren't hiring anyone but engineering. So I came to California. I convinced one of my friends to introduce me around the office. And everyone I met, I just said, "Hey, I'm Ami. I want to work here. I'll do whatever you need." And finally, the head of PR called me back, and she said, "Hey, look, we can't hire you. You're not qualified. We don't have headcount. We didn't interview." It was like 10 reasons. I was like, "You could have stopped at 1 reason. I believe you." But she said, "We're about to put on our first big conference, this thing called F8, and we could use a temp to help us read all the press releases." And I said, "Sign me up. I'm in." And that job turned into another one, which turned into another one. And at the time, this made a ton of sense, because I knew I wanted to work there, and it was worthwhile for me to take a shot at doing this thing that just sounded exciting and fun, even if it meant extra work for me. But I've had to remind myself of that principle over and over, because in my head, I still have this idea that there's this group of senior leaders who know all the most important problems to solve. And when I'm the right person to solve it, they'll come and tap me on the shoulder. And it's only recently I realized that, actually, if I'm seeing a problem, I'm probably in the best position to tackle it. And I just need to step up and do that job. Now, this isn't easy, and so the thing that has made it work for me is just recognizing a few things. A, reminding myself, stepping up is supposed to feel terrifying. I'm doing something I've never done before. Of course it's going to feel scary. Just knowing what's normal is really helpful for me. B, take perfection off the table. I'm not the right person to solve almost any of the problems I'm trying to solve. But if I recognize that there's no such thing as a perfect solution, then I can propose my imperfect solution. And that is almost always better than not making progress. And finally, I think about learning as the reward. It has never happened that I've tried to step up and then ta-da, I got promoted. But every time I have learned something big, whether it's a new skill set or a new part of the industry or a new network, and that's given me access to all sorts of problems I would never have even seen otherwise. So here's some sentences that work. If I'm talking to a peer or a mentor, I could say, "Hey, I noticed you spend a lot of time doing this thing, so I just took a stab at it for you. Does this line up with what you're looking for? Feel free to use it." That way, you're not threatening anyone, you're just helping, and in that, you get practice at doing that job. Or if I don't know what to do, I ask my manager, "Hey, what's one thing you're doing today that I can take off your plate?" And that makes it really easy for them to just scan their calendar and hand me something that's really helpful to them, but really new and important for me. Tip number 2, build your career the way you build your product. One of my managers used to ask me this question: "What does Ami 2.0 look like? And when are you shipping? Because it's time." We're PMs. We have built all of these skills around identifying and prioritizing the most important thing to do, and then building clear goals around it. and holding people accountable. But as soon as we apply that to ourselves, all those skills just get thrown out the window. Would you ever write this goal on your annual performance review, make a better product? No, definitely not, right? We write things like ship to 100,000 SMB users in the next 3 months with 30% retention. But on the personal side, I see this all the time. Get better at communication. What does that mean, That could mean give 3 talks this half to an audience of greater than 100, rated 4 out of 5. It could mean something completely different. Within 2 months, write a weekly status update for my exec team that they find clear, succinct, actionable. So what's worked for me is actually to name a couple of personal growth goals and write them in my performance review right alongside my product goals. And then I share that with my manager, I share it with my team, so they can hold me accountable. Because otherwise, I'll trade those off as soon as work gets busy. You know it. B, I think of my growth not as something that I'm doing selfishly for myself, but something that's a service to my team. My team's trying to do harder things every day. So how can I support them unless I'm getting better every day? And then C, I do user research about how I need to develop, just like I would on a product. So for instance, asking questions like, if I were to step into my manager's job today, what would hold me back? What kind of skills do you need to see from this product? Tip number 3, ask for help. I was talking with Deb on the phone a few years ago, and we were talking about this project outside of work. And I was like, oh, that looks so interesting. I would love to be part of it. And she was like, oh, like, who have you told? And I said, oh, I'm kind of telling you, like, right now. And I feel like Deb's a pretty patient person, but in that moment, I could really feel her hand coming through the phone to, like, throttle me. It was like a Darth Vader moment. She was like, Ami, like, you know these people, write your list, make the request, ask for help. And this is still something I struggle with. Because especially as women, asking for help is so often seen as a kind of weakness, and we are trained not to do it. Right? That's what holds me back. I don't want anyone to perceive me as weak. I think, you know what, it's not an emergency. I'm not literally on fire. I mean, my feet are on fire, but like the rest of me is, I got this, guys. Like, I got it. Or what if I ask for something, I go out of my way, and then I didn't even want that thing? What if I pick the wrong thing to ask for? So I've really tried to reframe all of that for myself. Instead of a sign of weakness, asking for help is a way for other people to be part of my journey. I am constantly surprised at how many people actually want to help, but they don't know how because I don't give them a way. Instead of thinking, oh, this isn't an emergency, I wonder, am I using all of my tools? Because the people around me are using all of theirs. And if I'm worried that I don't know what to ask for, actually, it's okay to just have a hypothesis. That's how we build products. I could ask for something, learn about it, and then pivot. That's part of learning. So some sentences I use, hey, long term, I'd like to explore a potential COO path. Can you suggest one project this half to help me get more operational experience? No caveats, no apologies. I can always try this, decide I don't like it. It's not a big deal. What's the worst someone could say? Career tip number 4, career success follows personal satisfaction. How many people in this room have ever considered taking a job you didn't really want because you thought it might lead to something that you did want? Yeah, a lot of us. We get so much advice about how to choose which jobs to take. And I don't know about you, but every time I'm choosing between 2 roles, I feel like the rest of my career hangs in the balance. And that makes sense. I'm a human. I want to believe that I have control, and if I pick the exact right job, then, I'll do really well, and I'll get promoted, and then I'll be famous, and I'll win. But when I look back at my career, I would never have guessed the jobs that actually gave me the most growth, right? Because think about it. If I come in, and I'm thinking every morning, all right, I'm going to do this job for 6 more months, I'm going to get my promo, and then I'm out of here, I have a very different energy than when I come in and I say, wow, isn't it cool? We're going to solve these problems today. And so what's really helped me is instead of trying to optimize for title or position or long-term promotion, I just look for a role that feels like home. Because if I'm happy at the beginning of every day and at the end of every day, it means I'm most likely to come in feeling creative and flexible, and I have my eyes open to new opportunities. And so the way I do that is I write all the pros and cons lists that we always write. And then just for a day or two, I tear them up, and I try to put on the job like I'm putting on a coat. Oh, so this is what it'll feel like to be a PM at Facebook. This is what I think about when I drive to work. Here's what my first meeting is about. Here's who I have my lunch with. And if I feel good about that, if I feel comfortable in that skin, that's probably a better indicator that I'll be happy in this job, and then I'm more likely to be successful. Career tip number 5, keep showing up. This is the easiest one to describe, but the hardest one to do. Because especially the woman, I feel like every time I feel like I've been passed over for something, a job, a promotion, an opportunity, I wonder, is this whole thing gonna work? Like, should I give up now? And it was only recently that I really figured out that actually opportunities don't always come exactly when I want them or when I try to make them. Sometimes there's a gap. If you want to run for president, you got to wait for a year that's a multiple of 4, It can take a while. And that frustration or concern in the middle can be really normal. I used to spend, every summer in this existential angst, like, am I really working on something I'm passionate about? Am I in the right place? Do these people value me? And that kind of existential cycle took so much energy. And a few years ago, I just decided, you know what? Until I find something better, I'm just going to keep showing up at this job. And that was a real inflection point, partially because I didn't waste so much energy on angst, but partially because I was way more constructive about my job. No matter how bad any day was, no matter what bugs we found in the product or how unprepared I was for a meeting or however I embarrassed myself that day, I knew I had to come back in and see those same people and those same problems. And so no day was ever that bad because I was ready to face them again. Now, here's what I'm not saying. I am not saying stick around in a toxic situation, absolutely get out of there. I am not saying take time out from the workforce. That is a personal decision. No one else can make it. I am not saying don't advocate for yourself. Absolutely advocate for yourself and get other people to do it too. All I'm saying is that if sometimes things don't feel perfect, it's okay to keep showing up, especially while you're thinking about what you want to do, because no job is perfect. And what I've found is that sometimes if I stick there through the difficult parts, I'm around when the opportunities open up, and I get pulled into stuff that I would never have expected. So that's it. 5 tips, 10 minutes, 15 years. The best way to get a job is to do the job. Build your career the way you build your product. Ask for help. Career success follows personal satisfaction. Keep showing up. I just want to end by saying something I have to say every time I'm on this stage, which is, I really believe that whenever I go for a long time without seeing people who reflect back myself, I lose access to parts of myself. Parts of myself just shut off. And so I am so thrilled to be here with all of you, not just because it's a chance to connect with all of you, but also because it's a chance to connect with all of me. And I really appreciate that. So thank you so much for being here.